Hi, this is Megan, and I'm here with sketch number 8 from the September 2021 Creative Memories Worldwide Virtual Crop. So let's take a quick peek at this sketch. It is a 2-page sketch, and you can see here we have kind of these oval details that form a border, and the border is separating the area where we would have our photos from a area here where they are using triangles to form, to make kind of a segmented section that on the right side page is just below this oval border, and on the left page is to the left. So I'm going to talk to you about how to make those triangles to make it work so that you're not wasting paper, that you're making a cut with confidence so that you know you're going to get that the way you want it. I do give you details here on how to make these ovals. And I'm going to show you, I am doing in these ovals here, I am using photos. I had some photos that I could cut down to that small shape. I'm going to give you a quick tip on how I did that. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is the right page of my layout. I've gone ahead and I've put that all together already because I wanted just to make sure that I liked how it all looked. And you can see here I have those photos in place. And they do use some smaller photos with mats. I went ahead and I had just 3 vertical photos, worked great. I did the border detail across the top, and I've got the diagonal going here. Now my diagonal is opposite of theirs. It just was the way I cut my paper. That's how it worked out. And I didn't think it was that big of a design element that it had to go the specific direction that they show it going. So that's why I had no problem having it go the opposite way. So we'll go ahead and in the directions when you're doing your diagonal, your cuts here, I tell you to use 2 4x12s, and you're going to cut them on the diagonal. So the biggest thing you need to remember when you're cutting your 4x12s is you're going to want to make sure that you cut them. You're going to cut them both the same direction, but you want to make sure that the pattern that you have going up, that's facing up towards you, is the side that you want to see. So you can imagine here, and I'll try to show you, when I cut this stripe, it was all one piece, and I cut from the upper right to the lower left. I sliced here. And if you can imagine then, this tonal blue piece was the same size, a 4x12. And once again, I cut from the upper right to the lower left. And that gave me complementary triangles. I could kind of mix and match my triangles to make those borders. So we're going to come over here, and you can see I started with that nice weathered wood background, and I've got my triangles here to make my border. I'm going to go ahead and put those in place really quick just to kind of get them, from flopping all around my table. I did choose to use one of the designs to be a little bit more tonal, and then I went with one that was a little bit more decorative for that stripe, and you can just kind of play around with it. I would tell you that definitely to kind of proceed with caution when you're making these triangle cuts. If you go with the 4x12s, you just to kind of double check how you're cutting. Just kind of think it through, visually look at it, and make sure that you like that. You're imagining things the way they need to go. So I've got this side set up here. The next thing I want to do is, for spacing wise, I'm going to go ahead and lay in my border detail that I have over here. So I use the rope chain, and I'm doing a border detail. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm kind of working towards the middle because I need to see for sure where I want to place my oval border here. And it's probably best if I go ahead and get my right side border here and my photos, and that will help me know exactly whether I need a center on this dividing line or if I want to kind of hug to one side or the other, depending on spacing. So I'll go ahead and put that in place. This was one of those layouts that I kind of had to piece it all together before I started the video. I was working with remnants of Seaside. I am expecting more of it to come in. It's just not going to be here until sometime next week. It shipped out yesterday, but it takes about a solid 4 business days for me to get my orders from Creative Memories if I don't use 2-day air. So I have more of the Seaside tonal and the Seaside designer paper coming. The picture of myself goes in the middle. So what I'm doing is I am putting on the top and the bottom, and I'll be able to get that middle picture centered in. And I just need to make a quick adjustment to how I put this together. Repositionable is my friend. So that works there. So there I've got my 3 photos on. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I did the ovals. So I decided I was going to use photos in there. Like I said, I had some photos I was able to trim down. It wasn't going to be a problem. But I could not find my my guides. You know, the clear plastic guides that I could kind of lay over my photos and imagine what it was going to look like. So what I did is, for cutting for spacing, I actually went ahead and I was just testing. I made some test ovals to make sure that I could get the spacing I wanted across here, just out of some extra white cardstock. So what I do though is now I have kind of what the opening of the oval needs to be. So this is oval number 4. It's the largest oval, and I use the green blade on the inside track, and that's what I wanted to be able to make my photos out of. So what I was able to do, and I'll show you with a spare photo, is I was able to grab my mat here. I was able to take my photo, and since I had already cut a window with it, I could lay this on as such. And I could just imagine, okay, I want to make sure I have my son's picture in here just right. Now what I could do is I could put my template over here, and I could use this white. It was much easier for me to kind of envision making sure I had nice white all the way around. It was even all the way around. Then all I had to do is just kind of put pressure here where I'm just putting pressure on the template and the photo, and I'm able just to pull my little guide there out. And I can go ahead and trim this with confidence that it's going to look just like it looked when I had the little guide in place. So rather than having that full sheet, which you're trying to pull out, but you really can't because it's actually covering your photo, if you go ahead and just make yourself a quick template using some extra cardstock, it'll just help you put that in place so that you can really make sure that you're going to cut those smaller photos with confidence. So we went ahead, I cut it with the, cut my 2 photos with the green blade on the inside track. And then I used the, excuse me, I take it back. I actually cut the photos with the blue blade on the inside track. I cut the mats for the photos with the green blade on the inside track. And then the rest of the ovals were cut with the blue blade on the inside track. And that's all detailed here in the sketch measurements. So now it's just a matter of putting the rest of it together. So I am going to go ahead and use my trimming mat because I want to make sure. I'm going to use my mat, and I've got my 0 center ruler. And I know from putting my previous page together that if I line up my photos at about 3 inches from the edge, that should be good. So my ovals here, my photo edge will kind of come under here, and the photo is going to rest against this ruler at 3 inches. But the first one I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and place a full piece one in the middle. I'm only going to put adhesive in the very center of it because I need to be able to lift it up and slide my photos under. So this will come in here and it's going to rest right at 3 inches because it's slightly smaller. And then I can come in here and look, I'm at about this half-inch mark here. So it's like 1.5 inches from center on the top and roughly 1.5 inches from center on the bottom. So I should be good to go ahead and lay that in. Now I have photos. My photos I'm going to put into place, and I'll go ahead and put some adhesive on the back, and they're going to slide in just a little bit under that mat. And you're mixing and matching sizes a little bit. So my oval mat is actually bigger than this oval here is the same size as my photo. The oval that is my mat here is a little bit bigger. So I'm going to tuck it under my ruler a little bit because my ruler's lined up at 3, which is where I want my photos. And my the center oval here is a little bit smaller. I'm going to do the same thing with this other photo. I'm going to slide it under. And I need to slide that. There we go. And then I'm going to put more adhesive on the remaining ovals, and they slide under as such, making sure that I'm staying at that 3 inch, using that ruler at 3 inches. And I'll slide the top one in as well. And I can kind of tell, I can look at the top, how much hangs over this trimming mat and the bottom, and see whether I've got these top and bottom ovals pushed in far enough. Because what I want to be able to do is I need to be able to put anchors on. So I'm going to be using anchors that I trimmed or I punched out of some of the designer paper, and I'll be putting those on as an accent. And I'm going to kind of have to fiddle with this top one to get it to stay, to get it to be in place there, because it's a little taller than I have room for. So I might have to just have it overlap a little bit, and that's okay. Visually, it's going to look fine. I just don't want to, I don't want to cut off the top of that anchor. So I'm okay if it overlaps a little bit onto this bottom, this next piece down. I just don't want to chop off the top when I go ahead and slice off my edge of my paper there, or my ovals. So in the sketch, the next thing they have is they do have a title detail that they put down here kind of towards the bottom. I've got a lot going on down here because that's where I've got my more patterned paper. So I'm going to keep my title up here at the top, and I'm not going to worry about putting the border detail that they have in place. And I just went ahead and have one of the laser cut embellishments, and I have a one of the stickers is on there. It's called, it just says by the bay. We were at a place called Birch Bay, which is in North Washington, close to the Canadian border. It's one of those big bay areas that has a very shallow, it's very shallow. So when the tide goes out, it goes out, you know, you can just walk and walk and walk really far out into the water. So there you can see how it all kind of came together. I really do like having these smaller photos in there. That's not something I normally would have had because usually when I print, I don't have a lot of areas where I have small photos, but it worked out perfectly here. Some of these were very repetitive photos, and so I just cut out individuals from larger photos. But as you can see, I'll snip off the top and the bottom there, and we're all set. So that is sketch number 8. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a chance to put it together to try something. I used ovals. You could use circles. You could use hexagons. You could just do a regular border here. You could do squares. It doesn't really matter. Just, you know, maybe if you're wanting to keep in tune with this, the sketch is maybe go ahead and do a little bit of that overlapping. So your middle piece here is going to be what we consider more to the front, and the pieces all kind of layer behind it as they extend outward. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing what you create.